If you'd like to make your NFL games a little more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby. Vegas. It is the Even Money Podcast, presented, of course, by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Love those of you that consume our other podcasts. Fantasy Feast is awesome. If you play DFS or fantasy football in any capacity, Joe Dolan is a stud. Ross Tucker Football Podcast is your daily 30 minutes of NFL content. Make sure you're up to date on everything going around the NFL. And I do my power rankings on Tuesday. If you want to see where I think your team stacks up. College Draft Podcast with Emory Hunt already posted, and we're giving away Maddens. In fact, we are giving away 3 Maddens this week. Take advantage of any of the sponsor codes that you hear. Email me, ross@rosstucker.com, or rate and review any of the shows. Screenshot it, send it to me, ross@rosstucker.com, or subscribe to the youtube.com/rosstuckernfl. Just hit the thumbs up. Doesn't cost anything. And go ahead, make a comment with the console of your choice for the Madden code that I am giving away at the end of the week. Would love to give it to you so it can be a great holiday gift for you and your families. Remember, if you ever want to see all of the glorious bets we make on this program in black and white and see the advanced statistics in terms of how we do with the spread, with teasers, with everything, with best bets, just go to patreon.com/RTmedia and become a Tuckhead member. You'll get access to all of that, plus our private Slack channel. Most importantly, he's back. We got him back. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Like the meme. At Fezzik Sports. Steve, how much are you weighing now, dude?
I'm happy to report I appear to have beaten anorexia, as I have finished my weight loss bet where I got as low as 187. I'm at 198 this morning, Ross, after a fried lobster tail and some other very good meals the past 7 days.
Wow. Good for you, Steve. Good for you, man. I that was a heck of a job you did. And I am glad that you enjoyed yourself a little bit. I'm also, by the way, glad that not only you, but all of our listeners can get and take advantage of this offer from Symbol. So you already know, I think Symbol's the coolest thing ever. I am very jealous. I didn't come up with it. You actually can trade pro and college teams like stock. So I got buddies that are finance guys that also like to bet, that listen to the show. They love Symbol. Here's what's crazy now. When you sign up with code MONEY, your first deposit comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if there's anything stopping you from signing up for Symbol and taking advantage of their codes, you get a risk-free deposit up to $500. So you download the Symbol mobile app for iOS. It's just search SIM, like Sim, Bull, BULL, in the App Store. Use code MONEY to get your risk-free deposit up to $500. So maybe you want to invest in the Bears now that Justin Fields looks like the real deal. Maybe you're buying even more stock in the Eagles after their first loss. Who knows? Symbol allows you to buy and sell team stocks and profit from your sports knowledge. My sports knowledge, Steve, was pretty good last week. Had a good week. I was up 4 units for the week. That puts me up 15 units for the season. You stayed the same, obviously, Steve, not being on the show last week. You are 3 units in the black. It started on Thursday night. Falcons, Panthers. I leaned Falcons. Good thing that's all it was. Then Sunday morning, Seahawks, Bucks. The Bucks were laying 2.5, so I teased the Seahawks up to 8.5, Steve. Geno Smith came through for me. In fact, I had two two-unit, two-team teasers that both cashed. The Wong teasers, Steve, I'm telling you, over time, You're right. They are the real deal because I had the Seahawks and I had the Giants, and that wasn't necessarily a Wong teaser. I took the Giants from -6.5 to -0.5 a point. They just had to win the game. I know I'm not getting as much value out of that, Steve, but is that like very wrong to do? I needed something to pair the Seahawks with.
So it's not very wrong. Let me hit you with the ugly math. By the way, go to Stanford Wong's book, sharpsportsbetting.com. And I did work with John Ferguson. That's his real name. And he is Stanford Wong, and he wrote the book and has a chapter on teasers. When you bet a 6-point teaser -120, that's like playing each leg at -280. So the reason I discourage playing 6.5-point favorites in teasers is, what is a 6-point teaser? Essentially, it's a money line. You've got the Giants now -0.5. I know there can be a tie, but it's essentially the money line. And if you just played the money line on the Giants, you probably could have gotten them at -255. So you can get a cheaper price if you break it into the different components of that teaser, just playing the money line. That's why I personally never tease a 6.5-point favorite.
Interesting. Okay. Gosh, you are so good. Stanford Wong's real name is John Ferguson?
I believe that's public knowledge. I apologize if it isn't. I'm sorry, John. Yes.
Wow. That is so interesting that's like the pseudonym that he goes with. Okay. Let's get to Jags Chiefs. Eileen Jags getting the 9.5. They lost by 10. Glad it was just a lean. Browns Dolphins, Steve. I was feeling pretty good about the Browns after that Monday nighter against the Bengals. They had the bye. Dolphins have been playing some close games. Browns are getting 4 points. Just a terrible bet by me. Browns were horrific. Browns got slaughtered 39-17. Dolphins are looking pretty good, Steve.
Let's talk Tyreek Hill, because if Tyreek Hill was having a bad year, the narrative we could have out there is that these number one wide receivers are so critical to the success of teams, and they should never be traded because they're never worth as much to their new team as they were to their old team, except the cheetah breaks all the rules. I can make the case he's worth a lot more to Miami than he was to Kansas City. He literally is making Tua an MVP candidate.
No credit for Tua?
We've got to give him some credit, but it's certainly, with the cheetah, that is one hell of an offense.
Next up, we've got Lions-Bears. I don't often do this, Steve. You weren't here to talk me out of it. I put 2 units on the over, 48.5, because the Bears defense hasn't been playing well, and the Bears offense has been. 31-30. The over was 48.5, Steve. 2 units on the over for your boy. That cashed. And I had the Lions as part of a 2-team teaser up to 8.5 with the Steelers up to 8.5. They both won outright. Is there any issue with teasing the Lions up to 8.5 and going with the over in the same game?
None at all. And the Bears are a sneaky over team because they break all the rules. Now, the monsters of the Midway, the book on the Bears is they play 19 to 17 games, and they haven't had a good quarterback or a good wide receiver in like forever. And the reality is that the defense jettisoned all their good players. Their defense is atrocious. And even though they're a running team, Fields has figured it out, and he's running a great college offense. So Bears overs in games are rarely wrong right now.
Broncos, Titans. I laid the 3 with the Titans. They made me nervous, but the Broncos are unbelievably offensively challenged. So that was 2 units that cashed. Vikings, Bills. Had nothing on that game because of the uncertainty of Josh Allen's status. Saints, Steelers. The Saints were laying 2.5 on the road. I did not understand that. I teased the Steelers with the Lions, as I mentioned. So 2 for 2 on those teasers, Steve. And what? 2 of them won outright in the Lions and the Steelers.
Yeah, and you got to feel good when your third leg of all your teasers, was Seattle, and they don't get there except with the teaser. There's nothing feels better than a teaser, Ross, that would have lost as a parlay but wins as the teaser.
Agreed. Texans, Giants, we talked about. I teased the Giants down from -6.5 to -0.5 a point. Interesting perspective, Steve, on why you're better off just taking the money line. But at any rate, the Giants won by 8, so that cashed. And then a couple tough losses, Steve, really tough. Colts, Raiders, okay? We record this 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, 7:30 Pacific, bright and early in the morning for Steve on the West Coast. On Tuesday morning, I had no idea the Raiders would put Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller on IR on Thursday or whenever they did it. But even worse, Steve, Jeff Saturday, who I consider a friend, lied to me. He said Ellinger was going to start at quarterback. Ellinger is not good. I'm watching the game, and I see pregame warmups, Matt Ryan taking snaps from Ryan Kelly. I knew right then I was screwed, Steve. I knew right then I was screwed. I was laying 6.5 with the Raiders. I mean, between no Renfrow and Waller and then Matt Ryan at quarterback, I knew I wasn't going to get any picks or turnovers. That's very unfortunate part of the business when coaches lie like that.
I want to address Jeff Saturday and use a movie reference here. So there was a movie called Dave where they take an average man and the president has a stroke and he looks like the president and they just make him the president. And the guy in charge, Bob, who's the evil guy, says, "Oh, we got this guy in our back pocket. He'll do whatever we want. This is great." So I think that's what Jeff Saturday was. So Irsay brings him in. He'll be a good company man. And then like on Sunday morning, he's like, he has a press conference. He's like, "You know what? Matt Ryan's going to be my quarterback." And Irsay's like, I don't believe we've got a quarterback change scheduled because, there's guarantees if Ryan gets hurt, it's going to cost the Colts over $10 million. And Jeff Saturday's like, "Yeah, it was a last minute change, Bob. We're going to go with the good quarterback." So good for Jeff Saturday making that move.
I actually love that movie. I think that's a great movie. I know exact Kevin Kline or whatever is Sigourney Weaver. I really like that movie, Steve. Nice reference. Speaking
By the
of
way,
nice,
Sigourney Weaver, I have to address this, and Amy Schumer are the points of demarcation where they are women that are right on the cusp of being attractive, but not quite there. And like if they slip at all, unattractive. But if they dress up and do what they need to do, attractive. They are fringe playoff teams, both of them.
I'm just going to move on from that one and tell you that I love Labatt Blue Light. If you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, you see I got 2 Labatt Blue Light cans behind me with the game balls and the helmets. Tells you a little bit about what I think about Labatt Blue Light to have it back there with my game balls and helmets. There's no better way to watch your team or to follow your bets than with the pristine Canadian goodness of a cold Labatt Blue Light in your hand. Stock up. Be the MVP of your tailgate. Share a Labatt on game day with your crew. Always enjoy responsibly, of course. Beer. Labatt USA. Buffalo, New York. All right, then we get, Steve, to the Cowboys and the Packers. I laid the 5 with the Cowboys. They're up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They've never lost a game, ever. They were 195-0. They lose in overtime. Very frustrating. Cardinals, Rams couldn't touch because of the quarterback uncertainty. Although the Cardinals offense looks better with Colt McCoy. It does. He knows where to go with the ball. And just as soon as his back foot hits the ground, he gets it out. Chargers, Niners, I leaned Chargers, getting the 7. That was a good pick. And then how about last night, Steve? I was in the booth with Kevin Harlan. Monday Night Football, Westwood won. I took the Commanders getting 11 points. They won outright, and it was not a fluke. They were the better team last night.
outplayed them for the entire game, and I will complain about one thing, and this happens all the time. I hate it when a team is laying 11, the game lands 11, and there's 10 halves and there's 11 halves out there. So if you're shopping for the best possible line and the game lands 11, everybody should win. Oh, but they don't win because the 11-point dog won outright by the 11. This happened in the Indianapolis game also. 5-point dog, they win by 5. I want games to land exactly on the number so everybody who shops wins.
For the week, I was up 4 units. I'm up 15 for the year. Let's get back on track here, Steve. And let's start with Thursday night. I got to tell you, by the way, really, really frustrating. I looked at these spreads first thing in the morning. I can't tell you how many of these spreads moved. I wrote down Tennessee plus 3.5. Well, now on DraftKings Sportsbook, it's Tennessee plus 3. How much of a difference does that make, Steve? I'm still leaning Tennessee, but I really want that hook. Should I bow out of it? Should I do 1 unit? What are you thinking?
You just tell everybody, wait for the 3.5, which I'm going to forecast is going to pop up. But you cannot, I'm going to be honest. I used to manage betting syndicates. I still work with betting syndicates. If you showed me a ticket, you said, I like the Titans, and you showed me a ticket plus 3 minus 110, you're fired. I mean, I would fire you on the spot for you have no idea what you're doing because you're going to get 3.5 on Tennessee. It's such the better bet. You cannot give out the Titans at plus 3. So you just say it's a strong opinion. And when it goes to 3.5, which I think it will pop up, the second it pops up at 3.5, absolutely play the Titans.
All right, we go by what the spread is when we're doing the show. So listen to him on the 3.5, but I'm just leaning Tennessee with the 3. That really stinks. I'm assuming you're doing the same, Steve?
I'm not even going to lean to Tennessee just because I've seen the story before. I don't like the road team on Thursday games, and Green Bay can be a very difficult place to play. The Packers saved their season at least for a week. It wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee wins the stats but loses the game by 5.
Browns and the Bills. The Bills are laying 8 against the Cleveland Browns. They're playing at home. What do you got, Steve?
I'll play a 2-team 6.5-point teaser. I'm going to tease Buffalo down to minus 1.5, and I will take them with the Minnesota Vikings. Curious. Vikings are the underdog against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not high on the Vikings. I don't have them rated that high. I still show a little value. Big home field advantage, home momentum situation for the Vikings. Dallas back-to-back road games. And I'll tease Minnesota up to 7.5. 2-team teaser.
All right, make sure they grade you at what? Minus 130 there, Steve?
Minus 130 for the 6.5-point teaser.
All right, I'm also teasing the Bills down to minus 2. And I'm going to pair them with the Raiders up to 8.5. So Raiders are up to 8.5 in their game against the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos can't score points. So I feel like I'm getting a lot of value getting the Raiders up to 8.5. Bills down to minus 2. 2-unit, 2-team teaser. Carolina's catching 12 in Baltimore, Steve.
Yeah, and normally I look to play the dog on the double-digit games. If anything, I'll lean Baltimore. I'm not going to lay 12. I think the Ravens are quietly sneaking into the top 5 in my power ratings here. By the way, timber moment in the NFL. The timber moment's when you've been cutting a tree down and all of a sudden it starts to tip and you know it's going to fall. And the timber moment was we had 3 dominant teams in the NFL: Eagles, Bills, Chiefs. And for the first time since the season started, the Chiefs are now clearly the best team in the NFL. At least they are this week.
So, by the way, the Bills earlier, I think, were laying maybe 9.5 or 9. And it's come down like this. Carolina, I have written down on my sheet plus 13. Now it's plus 12. Steve, why don't they let me make these lines? I forecast the line movement for all of these. I'm better than they are.
It's funny that you should say that because let's just say that you hear all the time that, the bettors should give great respect to the odds makers. And I got to tell you, and now the DraftKings might get angry at me, but I can tell you the professional bettors I work with, we don't respect the odds makers. We feel like if they were really good, they'd be betting for a living. They wouldn't be like, just administratively be booking bets. And we respect the closing numbers that the best bettors in the world have massaged into place. We don't respect the openers. We think mistakes, and we know mistakes get made all the time. There's a reason the limits are lower at the opening numbers that you see numbers being put up. And we'll talk about it when we get to Philly, Indianapolis. We'll talk about such a game where the opening number was just a clear mistake.
No question. So I'm taking the Panthers plus 12, 2 units. I like the way they're playing. That's a lot of points in the NFL. Ravens don't really blow anybody out. 2 units, Panthers for me.
We got Baker Mayfield for us in this one.
What's
we got
that?
Baker going?
Yes, Baker Mayfield starting. Lions, Giants. We got a lot of these games landing on 3. Lions, Giants. The Lions are getting 3 in New York, Steve. The total is 46. Just realized I forgot the total. Tennessee, Green Bay, 42. Cleveland, Buffalo's 44. Carolina, Baltimore, 43.5. Giants, Lions, 46, Steve.
So think about this. What this line is telling you is that the Lions are almost as good as the Giants, which is pretty comical because I had the Giants rated the 20th best team. So I've got the Giants sandbagged completely in my ratings. I still think that the Giants should be laying 3.5, not 3. But I'll respect the money and only lean to the Giants. I will play the over. I think the Detroit can't play any defense. The Giants defense is overrated. I'll go over 46 for 2 units.
I can just lean to Detroit. If it was Detroit getting 3.5, I'd be all over it. But I need that hook. I have learned to be patient. Jets, Patriots, the total's 38.5. Patriots are laying 3 in Foxborough.
It's curious. These teams played about a month ago, and Patriots were laying 3 on the road, and they won and they covered. Now the Patriots are laying 3 and they're home. What happened to the Patriots or the Jets? I guess the Jets, did beat Buffalo, but have these teams changed enough that we can swap out the home field edge and have the same line? It's still Belichick going against an inexperienced young quarterback. I could only lean Patriots.
Agreed. Lean Patriots here. I'm on the same page. Bears are getting 3.5 in Atlanta against the Falcons. Total's 50.5.
All right. So we've been complaining or upset about all these line moves that are occurring that are hurting us. Well, here's one that helps us. So a big influencer came in and released Atlanta -3, and he's pushed this line up to 3.5. And I disagree. I think the Bears are an equivalent team roughly to Atlanta. Home field, Falcons cannot be worth more than 2. Fields is dynamic. He's the type of quarterback that is great to have as a underdog because he's going to get you in through the back door. Absolutely. Bears plus 3.5, 2 units.
Totally agree. This is the one game I've seen so far where the line didn't move in the direction that I thought it would, and it went to our favor for all the reasons you mentioned. 2 units, Bears getting the 3.5 points for a best bet.
The best bet.
By the way, your best bet to stay healthy this season, the rest of the season, Athletic Greens. You know why? 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, all that stuff. It's lifestyle friendly, so if you're paleo or vegan or whatever, keto, you're good. Costs less than $3 a day. There's a reason why all these studs like Tim Ferriss talk about it, like leading health experts. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/money. Again, that's athleticgreens.com money to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Steve, it's the Rams getting 3.5 in New Orleans.
Yeah, how important is Cooper Kupp to that Rams offense? Obviously, we got two completely underachieving teams. I got to be honest, I make this game 2.75 was my initial number, but I don't want the Rams. I don't want the Super Bowl champs that their season is clearly donezo. They have no offense, and now their best player is out, the most impactful non-quarterback in the league. I'm not even going to lean. I'm just going to pass, and I'll lean under.
I'm going to take the Rams. I think they get Stafford back. I think McVay designs an offense without Cooper Kupp, and I think the Saints are kind of a disaster right now, and I like getting the 3.5. 2 units on the Rams, getting the 3.5 points. Here's another one, Steve. By the way, total for that game is only 39.5. Eagles, Colts. I wrote down this morning when I woke up after doing that game last night, I was all over the Colts getting 7.5. Now they're only getting 6.5, Steve. Total's 44. Big difference.
Yeah, so the Colts got misevaluated. So, there's a movie, what was that Kevin Spacey movie, Margin Call, where they're calling up people and they're like, we're making a trade. Good news, my loss is your gain. And where I'm going with that is that Indianapolis was at +9. I gave it to my clients +9, in fact, and it dropped to 8. All right. And it's like, I should have been able to buy them at 9, and now I'm only buying at 8. But guess what? It's not really a loss to take +8 when the line should be 6.5. And that was the case here. And the Eagles, not only do they play poorly, they got injured. Key injuries to Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown gets injured, terrible game. And yet it's like the sports books. They slept in, Ross. They didn't watch the game last night. Clearly, you've got to downgrade the Eagles significantly. There was already sharp money on Indy to put this game to 8. After that game last night, I'm not past posting. I came on. There was other podcasts I did last night, and I was like, this line should be 6.5. Well, now it's 6.5. There's no value anymore. You should have been betting the Colts. I know the game's not for 5 days. It's too late now. I don't want the Colts +6.5. I want the Colts +8, and it was right there for you. Stop drinking during Monday Night Football and start thinking, because obviously as soon as that Eagles game ended, it was obvious the Colts were a good bet at +8.
I don't even have a lean here. I was going to take the Colts getting the 7.5. It's unfortunate. Commanders, Texans. Commanders are laying 3.5 on the road. Total is 40.5.
It sure feels like this is the game that the Commanders stubbed their toe. The Texans played the Giants even last week. Even the worst team in the NFL is going to win 3 games. And Houston only has 1 win, which means this could be one they certainly could get. 3.5 is just too good. I'll take Houston 2 units.
Whew. That's a rough spot for the Commanders. Short week. Big win on the road like that. But I don't know about these Texans. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll just heavy lean to Houston, getting the 3.5. But I can't do it the way the Commanders are playing. Raiders, Broncos. Raiders are getting 2.5 on the road. Totals 41.5. I've already teased the Raiders up to +8.5.
So I don't want to predict gloom and doom, but I think you're going to lose your teaser. I'm going to play the Broncos for 3 units. I think it's a perfect storm. Now I get it. Russell Wilson is struggling mightily, but I've got a Raider team in complete disarray. And oftentimes teams like that, they bounce back. But how many weeks in a row do we have the Raiders and we have Carr in the post-game conference calling out the players, not getting it done? They have the Kumbaya week in Florida, unsuccessful when they all spent the week in Clearwater. Raiders are in complete disarray. I get it. Now the Broncos offense, it's bad. And Russell Wilson's not playing well. But I'm going to make a bold statement. I've got the best defense in the NFL in a must-win game at home, in altitude, only laying 2.5 against a completely a team in complete shambles in the Raiders. Broncos by 10. This is a 3-unit bet. Denver minus 2.5.
Wow.
Oh, and they just played week 4. The Raiders were 0-3. It was save your season game for the Raiders at home, and they somehow rallied and they won that game against the Broncos. So it's a nice revenge spot for Denver also.
So I think people know this, Steve, but if you're listening to this podcast, it's good to save money, right? Well, you can do that thanks to our friend at Sling TV. Forget about high prices and endless contracts. Sling's the most valuable option when it comes to finding your favorite channels with the best deal for sports, news, and entertainment. Best live TV content, all in one place at the lowest price. Plus, this is what's really cool. I think most of you guys probably know about the Red Zone, but did you know you can watch every touchdown live every Sunday afternoon with NFL Red Zone on Sling? For a limited time, get Sling Blue and add on Sports Extra with NFL Red Zone for half off your first month. Regular's $46, now only $23. Think about that. You get the best deal on Red Zone so you can catch all the touchdowns at the lowest price with Sling TV. Visit sling.com/DraftKings to sign up today. Cowboys Vikings, you already did the 6.5-point teaser, Steve. You talked about that. You paired them with Buffalo. I can only lean Minnesota getting the point. I think they're the better team, but that's all it is for me. Total's 47.5. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Steve. The total's 41.
Yeah, these teams played week 1. Steelers won. Bengals turned it over 5 times, -5 in turnovers, missed an extra point, missed a field goal. That's why the Steelers won. So normally I would be looking towards the Bengals in a bounce back, but I got to tell you that the spread's too high. I mean, Pittsburgh has their mojo back. Pittsburgh now has a pass rush with TJ Watt. What's the book on beating the Bengals? Pressure Burrow. New O-line doesn't protect him against a team with the pass rush, and Burrow makes mistakes. I think it's a 3-point game. I'll take the Steelers 2 units +5.
Totally agree. I think the spread's too high. Steelers at home. They got the defense going. Kenny Pickett's running. I like the Steelers +5 at home as well. 2 units, another best bet for us.
The best bet.
Sunday Night Football, I will be there in the booth for Westwood 1. It's the Chiefs at the Chargers. The Chiefs are laying 6.5 against a banged-up Chargers bunch on the road.
Yeah, so it's split 6.5 to 7. I think the Chargers are going to get Keenan Allen back. If they do, you got to bet the Chargers. I get it that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, but if you look at the look ahead in this game, the Chargers, I believe, were actually the favorite during the summer. So I know the Chargers are underperforming. Had they underperformed the tune with their injuries that they're 8 points worse? I don't think so. But we can't play it at DraftKings. We're not taking 6.5 only when there's 7s that are widely available. DraftKings is telling you who to bet in this game. They're like, most of the books have 7. We're making the 6.5. They're telling you the Chargers at 7 are the right side. Use that information to profit.
I can only lead Kansas City. I've seen this story before. Mahomes in primetime games. Chargers lost 2 more D tackles. I'll just lean Kansas City. Monday Night Football, Mexico City. It's the Niners at the Cardinals. The Niners are laying 8. The total's 43.5.
So I make this game 8, which is going to make it very difficult to find a good wager, especially, I don't care who's quarterback for Arizona, a healthy Colt McCoy or a banged up Murray who doesn't run. I might even prefer McCoy. Doesn't matter. I might lean under in this game too. It sure looks like the Niners, the memo's gone out for the Niners. We got a really good defense, and just have Jimmy G just hand the ball off, and we'll just ground and pound our opponents. Tick, tick, tick. Although Mexico City worries me because the altitude and defenses get so gassed. Maybe just a lean to the under.
I'm going to tease the Niners down to -2. I'd be surprised if they lost that game. I'm going to pair him with the Buffalo Bills. So I got the Bills in 2 teasers. Bills, you cannot lose a 3rd straight game. You cannot let me down, okay? You need to beat the Cleveland Browns without Deshaun Watson. I have you in 2-unit, 2-team teasers. We got a couple best bets, Steve. We got a bunch of bets on the board. Good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for listening to the Even Money Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, The Fantasy Feast, Business of Sports, and The College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.